You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back for another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Right cheek, left cheek, right cheek, left cheek, right cheek, left cheek, bum, bum, bum. So that is Adair, my friend and bestie, Jamarcus. And I was joking the other day about doing this show. And basically, it's a song that was happening. And it's a song by an artist named Just Brittany. She has a song called Right Cheek, Left Cheek. And it just is a repetition. It's basically a bunch of repetition. It goes right cheek, left cheek, right cheek, left cheek, right cheek, left cheek. It goes really fast. And it's talent. He's like, oh, I bet you won't open your show with that. I'm like, I definitely did. So don't dare me. I'll do most things. All things legal, of course. And he dared me. He was like, so back up. The song is called Right Cheek, Left Cheek. It's by an artist named Just Brittany. She is from Houston. She had a very great song back in the day when I was in high school called Call Me For That Good. It was one of my favorite songs I blast on the radio. I mean, it's not a great, song, but it was a great song, if you know what I mean. So we were just, reminiscing on our H-Town days back in the day. And I was just like asking questions like, what happened to her? So if anyone watches Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, this is the same Just Brittany. She was signed to Danger Zone with Stevie J, and she was battling with Jocelyn and the rest of the girls. Erica Mena, her used to be enemies on the show. She had the wild orange hair. People called her the Nicki Minaj reject. That was her. That's the same person I'm talking about. And I really hated how they depicted her on that show because she's really fun and very talented. There's a lot of music on the internet. But I just remember Call Me For That Good. That was like her big breakthrough song, radio hit, iconic hit. Okay. She was definitely great. And she was at one point signed to Cash Money, which was Lil Wayne's imprint, many, many years ago. She had a moment and, she just never picked up off that momentum, but she's still putting out music. And Right Cheek, Left Cheek is a very, a cult classic amongst those Just Brittany fans. And yes, and I may or may not have played that before I start this podcast, but who knows? So updates in general. So, I've been doing that thing, writing that thing we talked about last week. It's been good. It's been good. I'm in the groove. I'm doing my thing. It's working. I'm trusting the process. I got a regimen 5 days a week. I take off on Sundays and I take off on Wednesdays. And then I take my break. And, I got some good support, got some gear. Looking good, feeling good. It's working. I got a routine I do early in the morning because I know my day anything can happen in the life of a journalist, right? Anything, breaking news, anything can happen. So I try to do things early in the morning, but it's working and I'm having a good time and I'm feeling good. And I'm just feeling, I guess the feeling I'm having is like my metabolism, I definitely feel like has definitely jumped up. I don't feel as groggy. And I never was a groggy person, Joe, but I just feel this extra sense of, And I also just feel more relaxed and more stretched out in things. And, for other activities I do, I find myself not being as exhausted. I feel high in my metabolism and my fitness. So I'm so far so good. So the other thing, this weekend I'm going to Chima. My mother-in-law, see, look at that. My mother-in-law's birthday is this weekend and we're going to celebrate at Chima. So it'll be my husband and I, my brother-in-law and my mother-in-law. So that's going to be fun. Catching up and all that jazz. And it's been quite the week over here. It's always quite the week over here, but this week has been very momentous because that surprise came out. Our wedding was featured in the New York Times. Oh, yes. The wedding of the year was in the newspaper Record. Yes, the New York Times covered it, pictures and all. It was online. It's in print on the Sunday edition of the print paper. So for people out here who are big fans listening, get that Sunday paper, get that weekend edition. but yeah, we were our wedding was profiled in the New York Times. It was a surprise, I would say. And I can there's always the stuff that you can't say out loud anywhere else. And so my podcast is kind of like that. If you follow me on social media and you read my articles, this is kind of like the place to get the whole story, get the full story, the stuff that can't go in print, quote unquote. And so this was that, and you saw that with last week's episode on Mark Lamont Hill, which has not spoken to me. Of course he didn't. He didn't respond. He didn't say anything. I mean, I'm pretty much aware that his team probably have seen it or heard it or whatnot. But listen, I spoke my truth, and I was ready to keep it 100 as always. So with this, the backstory with this New York Times story, which is not even about New York Times itself, but just about other publications locally who really wanted to, do that wedding profile. And it was a lot. So I'll say this. I can say this. Um, New York Times, kind of came out of nowhere. And I think that was because of the social media buzz. We got hit up by the Society editor. She was incredible. And they really wanted to do something that was just more than just like a simple announcement. It was like a full-fledged out feature and everything. And it was remarkable. And so that was incredible. And the story is beautiful. I mean, the editor in me, the writer in me is always looking to say, well, no, it was spotless. It was a spotless read. It definitely told the story of us and did not miss a beat. And many of you all kind of already know this story. I think I've shared some of it in the past, but they were on the mark. So it was just beautiful. And the pictures are gorgeous. Those are never before seen photos. And those were exclusive from our photographer, Ronald Gray, who did it. And then, of course, there'll be more photos that are like the more professional photos that weren't live shots that was done by Derek Dean. And those photos were taken before the wedding. So you didn't actually see this photographer. For those who went to the wedding, this photographer you all did not see. They came and took all these shots outside before it rained, took shots inside. We like I said, it was a whole photo shoot fashion day. It was a big, that day, man, October 16th. It was definitely a moment. So what happened in initial planning, and I'll say it because everything's been done, was that Janice Armstrong from the Philadelphia Inquirer, who is someone who I've loved for years and is someone I look to as an industry mentor, and a legendary journalist. She was going to do a write-up in her column, her Metro column, about the wedding. And I think her angle would have been beautiful because Janice and she's a Black journalist. She met me the day that Obergefell and Hodges case, Supreme Court case, when they ruled in favor of gay marriage. And that was back in 2015. And the first time Janice Armstrong and I met was at Woody's talking about marriage equality. Well, it was the day marriage equality happened, but we were actually talking about a little thing called neighborhood racism. And I think she was interested in the story. She was just trying to figure, get to meet me because people around at the time was like, oh, you all two should meet. And she was a columnist. So I knew of her work. And, I was just, kind of, emerging on the scene at that point in 2015. This is before I was at Philadelphia Magazine. I was at Metro as a columnist and doing my thing. And she was a columnist and we just was supposed to meet up and we met up at Woody's. Yeah, that's how this was a long time because I don't even deal with those bars anymore. But we met at Woody's and this was 2015 and we were just having a conversation about some of the stuff that was going on in the neighborhood and we hit it off. And I still have that picture of when we first met. And since then, our relationship has blossomed. She's seen my career soar. She's been supporting me every step of the way, and all of that. And I think her piece was going to talk about how we first met, and at the time in which we were. That was a year in my relationship with Barry, and look what's happened since. And she was able to come to the wedding, and she was a part of that journey. And it was a beautiful wedding, and she loved it. And she was going to write this great piece, and I was excited about it. Well, the editors at the Inquirer, I think sometimes they just miss the mark. Culturally, they don't understand the importance of people and places and things, I suppose. Well, they realized that her story was about my wedding, and they basically told her she couldn't write it for her section because they felt like it was a wedding story and she's a Metro columnist, and they just was like, it should go to the wedding editor, society editor there. So their wedding editor was going to pick up the story and then report on it and whatnot. And I kind of felt some type of way because not with her, of course, but because I was like, well, I don't know who this woman is, and that wasn't a part of the initial plan. I gave Janice photos. We talked. There was pre-interviews. I mean, there was a lot of stuff we was planning to do this. So I just kind of hated that they took that from her and then they just tossed it to the wedding editor. I don't have a rapport with the wedding editor. This is a black queer ass wedding. This was a family moment, and I really wanted it to be in that way intimate. So when she told me that, I was kind of, bummed, but I kind of left some interest. I was like, well, we'll see what we can do, what will work out. I didn't hear from the lady, right? So a couple of days later, New York Times hit me up and they're like, hey, we love to talk to you about your wedding. And I was like, well, shit, this is a sign from above. So Barry and I did the interview with the people over there, sent photos, all that jazz. And they told us when the date was coming. Funny fact is, the story came out Friday, right? The editor from the Inquirer finally called me the day before the piece came out from the New York Times. And mind you, I was notified over a week ago that there was going to be a switch up in who was going to cover the wedding from the Inquirer. I was like, baby, you late. I didn't respond to her. I didn't say anything. But my mindset was like, so I know that there was a switch up and you waited an entire week after. And then, of course, you know how these editors and writers do. They got to fact check stuff. So I was like, it was going to take another week. It would have been an entire month that my wedding would have passed before that would have been in their paper. So I was like, nah, we're good. And then plus the Times had already picked it up. So I was like, no, I didn't respond, but it's like, I think they know now because the story's in the Times, like, that's it. That's it. That's the post. And so, life is funny. You never know how things are going to play out. What I thought was going to be a Philadelphia Inquirer wedding feature became a New York Times wedding feature. As it should. God damn it. It was a lot of money spent, a lot of time and energy, a lot of talent for it not to be seen by the world. And so I'm super excited about it. It's been just a very, I'm still coming off of that high. I'm on cloud nine. I think I'm coming down. I think once it's up, it's stuck. But one thing I would say is that it has definitely changed my perspective about certain things for certain. Like, I have never been a heavy representational politics person. And yes, I check off boxes. I'm black, I'm queer, I'm millennial, yada, yada, yada. But representational politics for me, oftentimes I get annoyed with it. And I've talked about on my podcast about sometimes I feel like people lean too much on identity politics and representational politics. And sometimes that doesn't equal impact or tangible impact. And I'm such a realist sometimes. And I get annoyed sometimes when people fixate on it. Because I think it's a little, symbolic, and the symbolism can be overwhelming. But I will say for this particular situation, I definitely understand the impact of representation and how it matters. And I hope it doesn't just start everywhere. I hope representation is the first key, and then it advances other things, right? But I was just thinking to myself, during this process of doing the story and everything, that I hadn't seen any black gay couples. And let me be clear, marriages that involve two black gay men. Because I think, and I've said this on my show before, and clearly I'm not against interracial dating or any type of dating, but I do think that when we're talking about the anti-blackness of it all, even colorism in the industry, right? It's like there's not a shot against all black people, but you got to acknowledge that there is an omission, right, of dark-skinned black women in fashion and in media, right? And even in LGBTQ stories, we do not often see same gender-loving men who are both black. Movies, television, your favorite actors and celebrities, it's very rare. It is very rare. And the sad thing is that there are a lot of, same gender black queer couples. Like, they're both together and they're both black. And I know those people. One of the men at my wedding, George Banks Weston, who's one of my great friends, he's married to a black man. They're both black. But it's not oftentimes embraced and celebrated enough in mainstream culture. And like I said, I've dealt with situations as a gay black man where I was told by people in the industry, oh, if you want to be successful and you want to pop or whatever, you need to get a white man. You need to do that. And it's the same stuff that's said to my cisgender cishet brothers and sisters. They're told the same thing about social climbing. But I don't social climb in love. I don't believe you social climb in love. You don't marry or date someone based on what opportunity and visibility is going to bring. You date someone based on having a real genuine connection. And this black man that I'm with, I love him, and I'm with him because I want to be with him. And when this man told me this, and this man knows who he is, who said this, I don't talk to this man anymore, but I said to him, I pity you. And that's a shame. And it's a shame that there are some men out there who don't believe that they can get the love that they actually want and the love that they deserve, and that they have to make those type of compromises to succeed or get whatever that success, quote unquote, looks like. I was never going to do that. I just refuse. I don't have these types of hangups. And there's people that do, and it's deep. It's deep. There's a lot of anti-blackness. I mean, the stories I hear, the things I have heard and seen in my own lived experience, it is interesting. And so, that meant something to me, because I think it says something in a world where there's all these narratives around toxic masculinity and hypermasculinity and homophobia and all these things, that we live in a world where we can see two black men love on each other. And just in general, not even in a romantic sense, but just in general, it is such a stigma in society to see black men, even black men with black women, but just us, love each other, hug each other, handshake each other, dap each other, connect with each other. It's ridiculous. And it's so much to the point where there's narratives that say things like, oh, well, that person's great because he's got a gay friend. It's like, no, that gay friend is probably, that they should be grateful that that gay friend's friends with them, to be honest. No, but like, why do we put these conditions or these types of disclaimers on the connection? I am grateful that I have a lot of black straight male friends. I have a lot of cisgender black gay men that are friends, old and young, that I'm friends with. I'm happy. And I'm happy I have a lot of straight friends in general, to be honest. And I've been very fortunate that my relationship, my presence is very normalized in my friends groups. There's no awkwardness. There's no, there's none of that. And that is, I'm privileged for that. I'm blessed for that. And sometimes you're so used to that normal that you forget that there is still a world out there where that's not everyone's situation. And I'm living a dream for a lot of people who don't have that yet, or who aspire to have that. And that didn't even hit me, because I've been so fortunate to have so many people treat my wedding and treat my relationship like it's just normal. And that's the way it should be. But we got to acknowledge that progress isn't there. And I recognize that there are people that look at us and watch this from afar that are seeing it. I got a message from a man in Nigeria from LinkedIn. He DM'd me through LinkedIn, y'all. And that post got thousands of likes and hundreds of thousands of views on LinkedIn, the post, because LinkedIn shows you the views. And I announced that I was married on my LinkedIn, and it was wild. And, I got so many messages from so many different men from various generations, just, saying that, that they were happy to see that. And, this guy from Nigeria specifically spoke about how there's a lot of anti-LGBTQ laws, and, it's anti-gay in Nigeria, and that, seeing that made him happy and gave me a congrats. And I didn't even know this man. So I do recognize, and I'm starting to begin to really take that in, because a lot of times I'm always, pedaling through, just on the go, and just really just putting in that work. But I am taking some time to reflect on the impact in that way, the representational impact in a way that I hadn't before. And it's touching. It really is. I talked a while back about how, the jeweler I go to for my rings, how her son is gay, and he's young, and he's getting bullied. And that he's been following my wedding, for a minute. It's raised his self-esteem and his confidence. And, I can't wait to see this woman this week and give her a physical copy of this New York Times issue and tell her to take that to her son. So it's a lot to take in, and it's a moment. And I think about it. I was just saying, that just last year, the first televised black gay marriage that of on a televised drama. Like, you know, when you watch TV movies, you know, well, specifically TV, primetime TV, ABC, Fox, NBC, that on dramas and shows, there's always a wedding, right? The first ever black gay marriage between two black gay men on a primetime TV show happened in 2020. Last year, y'all. Episode of Empire. It was Jussie Smollett. I think it was his final episode before everything went downhill. And it was the other actor. He was an African actor, dark skinned actor, and they got married. And before, like they wrote him off the show, like as like he was going to, I think, Nigeria or abroad. But he got married to his lover on the show, on Empire, and that was the first ever time. And it's something to be said because, you know, Lee Daniels is a black gay man. He is the creator of that show. And he made that happen, right? Jussie Smollett is gay in real life. And so they, you know, he made that happen. And that's wild to me. But that makes so much sense why we've lived in a world we have not seen this representation. I mean, and there's no diss to the actors, right? You know, it was a pleasure seeing Pose. You know, Pose, you know, came out after Empire, but Pose had a black trans woman getting married to an Afro-Latino man, you know, cisgender man. And that was a, like, wow, right? In a drama. And those things are that just happened in the season, the final season of Pose this past summer in 2021. Like, this is starting to become something people can see. And it did not hit me, you know, it did not hit me that throughout my entire childhood, that's why, right? I didn't see this. And I didn't ever imagine being married so soon or being even married because I didn't like, how was that going to happen? One, their laws weren't in place. But two, I mean, the laws just came in place in 2015. So, you know, it took me 6 years after the fact to do that. That's a lot. That's a lot. You know, and you know. So when I hear, I gotta say this because I feel like this is sitting. So when I hear people who support Dave Chappelle, when I hear the dumb, you know, references made by Joe Budden and people that try to act like, oh, the LGBT community is so powerful, just say white men. Please stop talking about the community as if it's white. Say white. You know, I think that's the problem too, is that we erase blackness in conversations around communities that we try to defame, right? They want to ignore the blackness of the LGBTQIA community. They want to ignore that we're integrating everything because it doesn't fit their narrative, because they want to hold on so much. They want to make this case. And I say this I feel like I say this all the time about intersectionality, but this is one of those moments where we got all this power, right? Lil Nas X got all this power. We got all this influence. We got all these things, right? How come Lil Nas X is the first black gay rapper to achieve this level of fame, right? He's an outlier. My Wedding is still an outlier to the public. You can't have all of this power and control if you're still hitting milestones and firsts. Okay, individual power and achievement is great, but when you're talking about collective, there's still disparities. And so I hear these people, you know, I said, you sound like a white supremacist. This is how white supremacists talk about black people, right? They'll say things like, oh, black people got a lot of power. They taking over everything. Look at Obama. It's like, okay, so we as black people knew that Obama's presidency was a big milestone, but that didn't define the entire collective power or issues that was shaping the black community collectively. And so when you all spell out Lil Nas X or you talk about me or my achievements, understand that there is still a society that continues to legally, okay, ostracize LGBTQ people, especially black and brown individuals across the country. Whether you're in a neighborhood in Philadelphia or you're in, Boys Town in Chicago or the Village in New York or Montrose and Houston shit. It's something going on down there that's impacting us. We're experiencing racism and homophobia and transphobia simultaneously. Please, please, like let's not keep having these conversations and pretending. And I just think there's so much of that, and it's a lot of dumb people that y'all just letting be experts in your lives. You're letting so many of these people with their opinions. Joe Rogan. Why is Joe Rogan any voice of authority or opinion about anything? Why? What is Joe, I'm sorry, but like what expertise does Joe Rogan have where you're just going to him? Or Charlemagne the God? Like what expertise does Charlemagne the God have that makes him the voice of reason? Seriously. What is it? I'm curious to fucking know. Or Joe Budden, that stupid show he has, that podcast he has. Like what makes these men, like they're all the same. They're middle-aged, boring, bitter, insufferable straight men who just basically, spend their time pushing down on marginalized people that are trying to get liberated in a world that they feel like is crumbling before them in their fucking patriarchy. Like there's so many of these guys, and they just keep bitching. I'm sorry, I don't have another word for it. They're bitching. Kanye bitching. Like they're just bitching all the time about something. It's like, come on. And it's one thing to bitch at institutions that discriminate, right? But you're complaining about Me Too. You're complaining about LGBTQ rights. You're complaining about inclusion and diversity. Like, what the fuck? You're complaining about people getting vaccinated? Like, what planet are y'all on? Good God. Okay, maybe Elon Musk is right about this humans going to Mars thing. He could use his billions to send them to Mars. And we'll stay here on Earth and clean it up. I bet you if you took some of them to Mars, we could probably see more progress across the board. But what do I know? Right cheek, left cheek. Next topic. So, President Biden's infrastructure bill got passed. Moderates are committing to voting for the Build Better Act. Apparently no later than the week of November 15th. That's what the claim is. So there's been some deal. The squad did not support it. 6 of them did not vote in favor of the infrastructure bill, but 13 Republicans did over Congress, and the House passed it, and now it's going to the White House, and the White House will vote. I mean, well, not vote, but Biden will sign it. And it is huge. $1 trillion plan. Okay. Better roads and better opportunities, and we're gonna fix some leaky pipes and shit. Like, this is necessary. Historic. I was getting a little worried about Biden. Still worried about Biden. But he's gotta win. It's been roughly a year since he's been elected, by the people. But in his first year, he got it done. And just like Biden, I got elected in 2020 as president of the PBJ, and I started my term in January, and, I got my big thing I'm about to get, done, but I can't talk too much about it now. Let me be quiet. But like I said, I'm rocking with Biden. If I do my cards right, I'll be in a 4-year term. So Biden and I'll be rolling together like all 4 years. So we're building our organizations back. But I got a better vice president. I don't know. Anyway, but I do think, it's interesting. He's doing his thing. He's doing his thing finally, because stuff wasn't looking too good for a minute. I was like, Biden L's after L's. What's this infighting going on with the Democrats? I mean, they're still infighting. The moderates is beefing with the progressive. I'm so sick of this moderate progressive shit. Democrats, just be Democrats. Can we, like, I'm just so over this. The moderates gotta, like, what the fuck are these identities? Like, what are we doing here? Because I don't know. I don't know I'm tired of these spectrums. Like, at the end of the day, these bills impact people's lives. People need childcare. People want this student debt shit to go down. Like, people need things. And you're just over here arguing about, well, this is a moderate here, and this is a progressive here, and we gotta sway the moderate. It's like, this is stupid. This is the bureaucracy that makes a lot of people don't want to participate in the political process at all, whether it's voting or running for office. And I have to say, as somebody who is a voter down to the T, right? I vote in my primaries. Look, voting for me is every 6 months. It's twice a year. I have to tell people that sometimes. Voting is every 6 months. You vote every 6 months like you're supposed to change out your Brita turbo filter every 6 months. Every 6 months. Every time I change out my Brita turbo filter, I also go and vote. Like it's a cycle. May and November, every 6 months. That's it. We got to make this like a lifelong thing and like get it like a checkup. I don't know. Like you're supposed to be getting checkups. Like that's how I treat voting. But I understand people's frustrations, right? I understand people being upset. But damn it, I just would like to see Congress and some folks really get it together. Let's see what this building back better looks like. Let's just get shit done, y'all. It's weird. I'm talking specifically to the House and everybody because this is getting tired. This is getting tired because y'all keep asking for more money. You keep asking for more support and more this and more that. I need to see some things getting passed. So this infrastructure bill is a step in the right direction. I'm happy for it. Republicans swayed over. 13 Republicans got their shit together for one time. But we ain't gonna give them all that credit because there's still more that needs to be done. But this was a big deal, and we need to acknowledge that. I'm acknowledging it. So, but that being said, I just got to keep it 100. The midterms, y'all, or next year, but election this year was weird. We're losing governors. What's going on in Virginia, that situation, man. We was able to keep Murphy, was able to keep Jersey governor almost by a slither. We're looking at what's going on in New York. New York got Eric Adams for mayor. We knew that was going to happen. We got Michelle Wu, who's going to be the first woman of color to be elected. She's Asian as Boston's mayor. So that's happening. She got elected. There was a black mayor that kind of filled in the gap, but Michelle Wu is elected by the people. So that was a major milestone. And then, there's been some other historical black mayors being elected across the country. I know somewhere in Florida, and other places. So there was some moments, but we're also seeing some regression because we lost the governor in Virginia, right? There's now going to be a Republican, and this Republican in Virginia, he ran on a platform that was speaking against critical race theory. And we'll get to why that is some bullshit in a minute, but I just want to put in context that people are wondering, it was one particular election. Everybody's like trying to panic and say it speaks to what could happen at the midterms. I don't know if there's just maybe a little bit of hype around that. I don't know. But I am going to talk a little bit about the fact that I will say in Pennsylvania, we had a bunch of judicial races. Our governor's race isn't happening right now. It's going to be happening next year. It's going to be quite interesting. The big thing is that I think when I look at the race, when I'm looking at, what happened here. So in Pennsylvania, I was out there in the streets, getting the tea, getting information. I noticed that there was a conversation to be had about the judicial races. There were two black women running for some top seats, judicial seats. For starters, one of my big sister, who is awesome, her name is Monica Gibbs. Her husband is my lawyer, and he's incredible, and we're family. She ran for Court of Common Pleas. She won. That was the Philadelphia Democratic Party. It was in a statewide race, and she won. And so it's great to see black women in courts. And Nick Kamau also is going to be joining her, a great black man who, there's a lack of black men also in the courts and the common pleas and things. So it's great to see these individuals, advance. And they were lawyers, and she had been serving in law for 15 years, and to see her in a place of Judge Gibbs is super exciting. So I'm so happy for her. I'm happy for him, and I'm just happy for everyone involved. So in Philadelphia, Court of Common Pleas, we got that unlocked. We're seeing some black representation. There's some black judges there. Things are looking good over there, okay? But what's interesting is that when we look at the statewide seats, those judicial races are heavy. And it's important to note the reason why the judge and the courts mattered. In Pennsylvania was the only state whose courts actually validated or gave validity well, same thing, right? To Trump's electoral whining about the results and the votes and things. They actually entertained it. The only state that did that. And so that should scare everybody, right? Yes, Biden won Pennsylvania, but Pennsylvania is still very purple. Pennsylvania is still up in the air. Anything can happen between now and next year during the midterms where things can just flip. There's a governor's race that's happening right now. Things can flip easily. We this is serious. Like, we was on the threads. And what I think people need to understand is that Philadelphia holds a lot of weight in Pennsylvania. We have we have a lot of voters. We're the largest city. We're the second largest city on the East Coast under New York. We are the biggest, clearly, city in Pennsylvania. We are huge. We have over 1 million in population. We have a lot of voting power. When we showed up to the polls and really came through and voted heavy, in addition to our neighboring suburbs, that is what took Pennsylvania over the edge for Biden. That is the same energy that we need to be having every November from now until forever to maintain the power and change it to beat a lot of these extreme conservatives. If we don't keep that energy and momentum, we will lose. Period. And it's crazy because it's one of those things that when we turn up in Philadelphia at the polls, when we turn up and vote and we show up, we get what we want. When we decide not to, everything falls and slips, and then everybody wants to do the blame game and the whining and the blah 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 blah. It's pathetic. It's sad, and that's what happened this year. There was, I guess, everyone called this a non-important year. Are you fucking serious? The courts are very important. We had two black women, Lori Dumas and Tamika Lane, who both ran. Tamika Lane is out now. She doesn't, there's a clear, in her particular race, I think for the Superior Courts, she's out. Then there's the Supreme Court, and Lori Dumas is running for the Supreme Court, I believe. And there's still hope. I guess she's got that lead for that second slot, which is being occupied by a Republican in the first place, but she's fighting for that second seat. And the numbers been going up and down. So there's no results. I mean, I don't know who the outright winner is, but she's edging on with a couple of votes, but like every vote counts. Let me just say this. If we did what we were supposed to do, if the Democratic establishment did what they were supposed to do to get out the vote, if they came and showed up and showed out like they should have, she wouldn't be having to do this. If she wins, it will be a miracle, right? It'll be a godsend. But that shouldn't be a moment for anyone to celebrate, because she shouldn't have not had, to be tethering like that, to have to fight or whatever. And if she loses, it would never be her fault. She was an incredible candidate. Both of them were, Tamika Lane and Lori Dumas, were incredible candidates. Very smart, very out there. They were hitting up the streets, but there was a lot of greed. And I'm going to pour some tea. This is what I heard. I'm just pouring what I heard, allegedly. But I have close sources that told me this. Maria Loughlin, the other white woman who was running for the other seat in the high courts across the state, she was in a competitive race. She got a lot of money, from supporters. She did not make it rain. She did not support or put some of that money towards helping these two black women or supporting across the board. And her race was hard. And it was very unlikely that she was going to win. I don't think people thought she was going to win anyway, but she definitely was getting the money. And she didn't go out there and unify and connect with Lori and Tamika in a way that helped support them. And I think that that's what I mean by the failure. When I mean the party failed those black women, is that they did not show up collectively in support. This was, we're going to require a team effort. The mayors, the governor, the state reps and the state senators, these people should have been, and city council should have been actively engaging the people on a regular basis and showing up and showing out and getting these people as much face time and really opening up their areas to letting them be able to do it. There should have been a concerted effort, because these courts are very important, and they really right now could have really brought some progressive and some different voices to that decision room to shake it up. But we don't know now. I mean, we're really resting our laurels on Lori Dumas's race. That will be the only hope we have to make any of this make sense, but it's a damn shame because I think more could have been done if they would have treated this election like a matter. So for starters, everyone acts like every year is not a good year. Every fucking November matters. And if you really are a Democrat, every primary matters. Every May matters. Every November matters. I don't know what year it doesn't matter. 2022 is the midterms. Okay. 2023 is mayoral races, right? And city council races. 2024 is back to presidential races. And then, here we go again. Following year will be 2025. And that's the year everybody act like everything doesn't matter. I'm sorry. That's the year that judges and courts matter. And we don't glamorize that year. Like this election year is always the forgotten year because every other race matters. So this year, the reason why people didn't care, everyone put all their energy in the primary because the idea was Krasner was running for DA. And as long as Krasner won the Democratic nomination, a lot of people said, okay, cool, I don't got to show up to the polls. And a lot of the citywide races, like in Philadelphia, the energy was given towards those races because a lot of those people in those citywide judicial races, if they got the Democratic nomination, they were straight and set for their general election. But those statewide Democrats that were from Philadelphia that won their primary in Philadelphia had to then advance to the statewide level. And that means their race wasn't technically over, quote unquote. That means they need to get the state at large. And all those judicial candidates, all those other people that was pushing through, trying to pay off their debts that they concurred from unions and other groups, because I got to keep it 100. All of these other party wig figures and everyone else just stopped caring or was worried about other things. And I'm going to tell you what else happened. Because there are some people that's guilty as charged. A lot of these other candidates were vying for their own future upcoming seats. Josh Shapiro's running for governor. Josh Shapiro is currently the AG, the Attorney General. And to be clear, he was speaking about these other judicial candidates. But I think about him. But I also got to talk about the other city council folks running different races, the prospective people. Jeff Brown. We're hearing about Alan Dom, who I don't think is going to actually run for mayor, to be clear. I don't think he is. But you got Sherelle Parker, all these other people, Helen Gim, that are looking forward to their seats. They're focused on trying to promote themselves. I would have liked to see them put that energy aside for at least a month and just say, look, we'll get back at this at PA Society in December, right? Like, okay, PA Society's in December. We'll talk about it after the election. Right now, I'm putting all my energy making sure these judges get in, building new connections and ties. It just did not happen. There was only 19% voter turnout in Philadelphia. 19%. 19% voter turnout. That is, I'm not even like, everyone always wants to blame voters and fuck that. I'm not blaming them. I'm not ashamed at Philadelphia. That is a result of leadership. See, everybody wants, that's going to be the theme of this episode. Everybody wants to be a boss until it's time to be accountable. When I see a 19% voter turnout, that means that all of these committee people, all of these ward leaders, all of these chairs and shit, right, that get money and is supposed to work polls, why are they even in their positions if that's the kind of voter turnout that you're having? Why have all these people go through these processes and sign letters and things if that's what you're getting? So leadership starts at the top. I'm looking at these ward leaders, I'm looking at these chairs, I'm looking at these commissioners, that talk. And I got to keep it 100. I had an interview. I interviewed on WRD Omar Sabir, who is the city commissioner. And we talked about, voting and why people are not showing up and out. And he's got this report that they're saying it's going to come out soon. That's going to link that low voter turnout is also correlated with communities that are deep in poverty and don't get things. And I guess he's trying to spin this narrative, I guess, that people that don't vote, they're not getting things they want. And I kind of pushed back at that. It was like, so are we implying that elected officials, once elected, will only give a damn about the districts they are in or parts of their communities if masses of people vote for them? I think that's kind of ass backwards. And it also perpetuates the cycle that elected officials aren't doing shit, so people don't vote. People are not voting because elected officials are not doing shit. So who is supposed to step up and be the difference in that? I would say the leader. I don't know, the person who actually got elected to serve. They are supposed to be the ones to break that cycle. And I just feel like people not voting is a reflection of one, they are not seeing results. And results should never be motivated by voting to begin with. Because if you're already in the seat, technically you have a job, and clearly you're not doing your job. And we see how vote turn out when people to vote people out. Okay? My district, we showed up to the polls heavy when it was time to vote Janie Blackwell out, when people thought she was in a position for a very long time and they wanted something different. People will show out to vote people out. But it's also important to get them engaged. But one of the things that I was speaking to is I was talking about the different ways of voter suppression. Omar Sabir looked at me and said they don't have that problem in Philadelphia. A moment of silence, please. That's bullshit. What do you mean? The issue with voter suppression conversations, especially with commissioners who are like big old folks in love with, the establishment. The issue with that is that voter suppression isn't just simply going to the polls and intimidating people. It's not just grabbing someone up or blocking someone from voting. Voter suppression, for me, is more nuanced, actually. And, sometimes maybe I need to have a more educated conversation with this particular commissioner. But one of the things that needs to happen is that what people have to understand is that voter suppression starts with wards and committees and communities. It starts with people knocking people off of ballots and intimidating people to run for office. It starts with, spreading misinformation on social media about particular races and whatnot. I mean, voter suppression is very much more nuanced and more complicated than what people try to put out there. See, I've seen situations where candidates will run, and then behind the gate, okay, you will see people and their parties or respective groups try to take people off of ballots or get people to drop out of races, right? And then what happens is that then lowers the options that voters have to choose alternative candidates, right? And then that oftentimes will then discourage people from voting at that point, because if you were somebody who had hope for a particular candidate or had enthusiasm for another, maybe that candidate who's now knocked off the ballot has an influence, right? Do they influence their supporters to show up to the polls, or do they just completely just talk about how corrupt the system is, complain, whine, and then people then say, you know what, fuck it, I am going to do this. And that's what is a part of voter suppression. I'm really trying to put this in full perspective, because I think a lot of people ignore that detail, that actually it's not just simply what happens the day of election, it's what leads up to the election. And Omar Sabir wasn't trying to have that conversation with me. You know why? Because maybe there were elements of voter suppression, in my opinion, that played a role in how maybe he got his seat. That's just an opinion. I'm not saying that as raw facts. I just feel like I know who ran against him, and I saw certain people who did. I think that were more qualified, that actually definitely deserved it. I think Khalil was a great guy who ran against him and ran against others for that seat. I don't really know why Lisa Deeley and him are the top two pick. I would have been okay. Maybe Omar Sabir and Khalil. I mean, Lisa Deeley has had concerns. There's been reports about how she's carried at those certain ballot boxes and shit. I mean, there's stuff out there. I'm just in factual information, mind you. They won because the party liked them and the party pushed them. And see, when you see that kind of stuff happens, to me, that's a form of voter suppression. Not with the candidates per se, but just the way that the party machine has intimidated voters, have intimidated candidates, which then trickles down to voters' engagement in races. Especially these small local races that involve state reps and city council and other citywide races. It's niche, y'all. It's more complicated. But he wasn't trying to have that conversation on election day. So it didn't happen. He just said what he said, and I was like, okay. Let me tell you something. When I'd be like, okay, that means bullshit, but we're going to move on. That's really me. Listen, if I ain't going to say it all, I'm just not going to say anything. I was like, okay. Would it have been a moment to push back? Sure. But we had so many other people that was waiting in line. And quite frankly, I just think sometimes people can see bullshit. You don't even always got to have a big old bumper sign. You just hear stuff like that and you say, this is so obtuse that you just have to just let it, you just got to let it sometimes be. So, like I said, long story short, I think the midterms are looking a little bleak if we keep up at this type of behavior. What I need to see happen in the 2022 primaries is that I need everybody to be focused on the races that are currently in front of us. Period. There is too much early projection and there's too much forward thinking. Y'all, anything can happen between now and 2023. And definitely now in 2024. We are seeing it that happen before our eyes. We need to keep our eyes on the prize of the moment. Focus on the race at motherfucking hand. Like everybody was too busy talking about rehearsal for 2022. The fuck? We are in showtime now for 2021. And so I don't know what these world leaders are doing. I don't know what these committee people are doing. I don't know. But let me just say this. Philadelphia will make or break Pennsylvania. Okay? It will make or break it. And we need to understand that. And honestly, there needs to probably be some resignation. Some people need to step down. I'm talking about people that are holding political power that within the party. Not elected officials, even though some of them need to step down. But we need to talk about some of these people that are running the show. And so I'm definitely having some thoughts about this, clearly. And I need to write it. I need to put some thought. Clearly, when I get passionate like this, I'm like, I got to put this pen to paper and get it cracking. Because I definitely won't get it popping. Not cracking. Popping. But we need to get it popping. And we definitely need to get stuff moving. So I definitely, definitely think that needs to happen. Back to critical race theory. A little bit about this because everybody's been asking about this about race in school. There's been these conversations. I didn't even think this was a big. I didn't. I've been so. I am in. I have a book coming out on Cancel Culture, as you all know. Okay, I'm about to be an author soon. Author loading. Pre-sales and covers and book covers and shit next year. Like I'm super excited. 2023 is gonna be lit. In 2022. So the book comes out January 2023. But, all the push and promotion, some of that early stuff is going to be in 2022 for sure. Like, you all will be able to pre-order my book, okay, and see the book cover in 2022. So, it's a big year. But again, keeping my eyes on the prize of right now. There's been a lot of conversations happening around critical race theory. Critical race theory is something that also involved one of my favorite scholars of all time, okay, Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, who studied this and talked about the impact of race and how it evolves identity and shapes lived experiences and also how it shapes institutions. Like they took out just not the study of racism alone, but the study of race and racism and how it impacts structural institutional systems. It's incredible. I think people should read it, read about it, look up critical race theory, read about it. There's books about it. Like read the academic sense of what it actually means. Okay? And let me say this. Critical race theory for young people like myself, millennials who are in college or have been in college backgrounds, this is a scholarly term. This is very high level academia. And honestly, this has been taught in colleges and higher education spaces forever. I don't know, and I've said this before, that my journalism that I've done, a lot of my columns and work invokes a lot of the theories and the understanding of critical race theory woven into my work. So when you read articles, when I talk about racism, and I talk about systemic white privilege and white supremacy, all of those elements and topics are definitely delved into and explored in critical race theory. And I interject a lot of that research and conversation into my work to educate people far and wide. And it's great. So people say to me, where's your science? What's the research that you do? A lot of it is rooted with critical race theory and also intersectionality, which is also something that was coined by Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw in the late 80s. And, I got to meet her and I love her. Again, these are all concepts that have been tried and true for decades, researched and talked about. Scholarly work, award-winning work, groundbreaking work, and it shaped the way we talk about race and identity and all of those things. And so, this has been around in the higher ed space. But what I've noticed is that a lot of Republicans, these crazy conservatives, have taken, they're starting to get very, the best villains, right, in movies are ones who understand the protagonist inside and out, and are able to take elements of the protagonist and manipulate it, right? And shape it and punch at it, right? The worst villains are those who have no idea the power or talent, or don't even acknowledge the power and talent of their protagonist, their adversary, right? And completely just decides to just punch. Not a good villain. The best villains know their adversary very well, study them to a science, understands their strengths and weaknesses, and punch towards that. That's the art. And so conservatives and Republicans are phenomenal villains because they look into what they study. They might appear dumb and stupid, but they're actually not. They're quite brilliant. That they look at their adversaries, they study what their things are, and then they turn around and manipulate them. And so that's what they did. They hate the quote unquote woke mob. They hate progressives and they hate black people. Let's just call a thing a thing. They hate black people. And so their interest is that they are like, what are progressives talking about? What are black scholars talking about? In order for us to criticize them, we got to know what the fuck they're into. And so I'm quite impressed that they even, after all these decades, have finally found out about critical race theory. Oh shit, they're going deep, aren't they? Because, a long time ago, they were, they didn't know. They just say, oh, everything about race. But they're realizing in order to hit us, they are having to go for the things that they know that we do for fact. And they have to then attack and misinform people. So we as black progressives and just black folks in general, we can't deny that critical race theory exists, that that's what we study or we know about, right? We can't deny that work is, we believe in it, right? We understand it. They know that now. So now they seek to defame it. And now, rather than have real conversations about racism, we're now fighting them about what critical race theory is, what it isn't. And that's exactly what they wanted. Another deflection from the issue at hand. So now they're sending people to school boards all across this country with just the most ridiculous, baseless lies about race in these conversations. I mean, people are here lying about stuff that ain't happened to their kids. Like, these people are willing to lie on their own children to try to stop conversation about race. So there are parents going to elementary schools and public schools saying they do not want critical race to be taught at their child's school. Let me just say this. Ain't nobody teaching critical race theory at your child's school. I don't care if you're at a private school. I don't care if you at a magnet school. I don't care if you're at a charter school. No kids under the age of 18 are like learning about critical race theory at any massive level. I don't know where the fuck that came from. And let's also be very clear. Discussing racism, discussing slavery is not discussing critical race theory. Critical race theory is this entirely different complex topic and element. That's like saying, oh, talking about the suffrage, women's suffrage, and the history of women's rights is teaching kids how to be feminists. Not necessarily. Like, it's teaching history. It's not injecting and trying to change one's political theories about things. That's not happening at public schools. And these teachers are not trying to be critical race theory professors either. That's not even in the curriculum. So I don't know what the fuck that is about. Oh, but contra, I do. Because when people don't know what critical race theory is, the assumption is that the topic of race itself is. So the reality is that conservatives don't want to, it's not about critical race theory. They don't want to talk about race at all. And so what they're doing is they're saying they don't want critical race theory to be taught to their children. But actually, they don't want race to be taught to their children at all. They don't want their children to know about racism. They don't want their children to talk about anything. And if you start banning, right, conversations about racism, then that impedes upon history. So then, are we not talking about the civil rights movement anymore? Are we going to rewrite slavery? I mean, look, I grew up in Texas. They've already been trying to take slavery out the textbooks, calling people slaves, indentured servants. Fuck out of here. Like, this is what they're already trying to do. They're not even trying to call it forced labor anymore. Now it's indentured servitude or volunteer. I mean, there's all kind of crazy shit. Next thing you know, they'll be calling them melanated consultants on plantations. Like, I don't know. It just has gotten to a point where even conversations, they don't want to have a conversation about race at all. They say their kids are too young. Which led CBS News to ask the question, how young is it for kids to know about racism? this is what I said earlier about putting a name on something. You mean white kids? Because black kids have been learning about racism since they came out the fucking womb. Before I even knew much about sexuality and gender, I definitely knew about race. I came out the womb black. You know, I was clearly queer, but that wasn't the outward thing that people saw when I came out the womb. They saw skin color. They knew I came from a black woman and a black father. Like they knew I was black. That was the first thing they saw. And so kids grow up learning about race. Black and brown kids grow up learning about race early. You know, and so Jamel Hill, who's an incredible journalist who I love to death and she knows me well, she asked the question. She said that, you know, black and brown people should go on social media and start talking about racism experiences they had when they were young. To mock CBS News for saying this. Say, at what age should white kids know about racism? I would say they should start understanding, right? Because there's levels to talk about race, like there's levels to talk about sex. There's levels to talk about money. Why do we act, why do white people act like, because I can't even say people. This is a white people's problem. Why do white people not understand that trying to generalize a conversation about race when it also involves black and brown people does not make any sense? You cannot say across the board, we're not talking about race. Because oddly enough, you're literally erasing, no pun intended, the other half of the constituency, the other group of the conversation. So if we're talking a conversation that's white, black, and brown, you didn't already shut out black and brown people, which is then prioritizing white people's sentiments, which is another reinforcement of white supremacy. Are we making a connection here? Who are the ones fighting the hardest against race being quote unquote taught in schools? White people. How come they look at talking about race as only a black and brown thing? You know, I've been saying this for a long time, but I've told people that that I feel like if we're only talking about race in terms of black and brown people and the marginalization they face, we're actually fucking this story up. That's why I studied critical race theory in college, but like what we should be talking about is race across the spectrum, which includes white people. White people don't think that critical race theory, don't think that conversation about race is only simply talking about black people. Maybe that's why you're mad because you don't want to talk about black people. No, actually conversation about race talks about all races and the roles that they play. I am very much so a scholar in whiteness. Like I study the history of white people, good and bad. I think it's important to know about what white people have done in the world. I mean, we should know, right? White power is a thing. We need to understand how whiteness operates. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I did not study in my lived experiences and in an academic sense how whiteness impacts our everyday lives and how blackness impacts our everyday lives and how brownness do. Like studying race isn't just about studying black and brown people. It's really about studying white people too. And we should know more about white people and their power and what has happened and what they've done so that we would not repeat history again when we look at, I don't know, the Holocaust, when we look at slavery, when we look at genocides and colonization and, imperialism. I don't know, capitalism that was really gross. I don't know maybe that's what we should be talking about. Maybe maybe racists will feel better if we said, let's study whiteness. Right? Because honestly, as a black person, I love studying about my people and my history, right? Black history needs to be taught and explored. But let's also take a moment to be, more thoughtful about how we're talking about whiteness. Whiteness in education has always been a story of heroes and patriots, but that's not actually the full story. And maybe that's the problem, that history, the way it's being taught in schools, is treating this situation like it's nothing but a bunch of winners when there's definitely losers and cheaters. Like history is a story of winners, losers, and cheaters. Listen, don't let me be Ernest Owens, adjunct professor of race somewhere at somebody's school. I'm just saying that there is a lot here, and I feel like what we got to stop doing is acting like these people don't know what they're talking about. They know what they're talking about. They're purposely politically incorrect. They're intentionally politically incorrect. The misinformation of that gubernatorial candidate in Virginia who ran on the narrative, he knew what he was doing. Like, I just think what we got to stop doing is acting like people are dumb. No, they know what they're doing. The misinformation is what they need to persuade people to go a certain way. And that fear-mongering is working. But it's also not even fear-mongering and political tactics. It's just plain old racism. They racist. They don't like black people. They want to keep white people in power. Just say that. God damn it. Just say that. Just say that. Just say you don't like black people. Just say that you just want to, you're scared. You think, ooh, about to say a word. You think we're taking over everything. You don't like it. You don't like Kamala. You don't like, all this color and conversations about diversity. You don't like the shit. You're a racist. You say, fuck it. This is all I know. I don't want to support anybody else. White power. That's what they really want. That's how they really feel. We gotta acknowledge that. I'm tired of this. We gotta understand different people's experiences. Fuck all of that. They don't give a fuck about my experience. If they cared about my experience, they wouldn't even be beefing with the school district about conversation about race. They don't care. They don't. Shit. All this across the aisle bullshit. All that across. How is that working for you Democrats? All this across the aisle bullshit. Look at Joe Mancini. It's something to be said for the fact that Joe Mancini is from Virginia, West Virginia. And just look at how he's moving. I'm just saying a lot is going on. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. So, Astroworld. Travis Scott. It's been on the news. There's been at least 8 people have died from this concert that happened in my hometown, Houston, Texas. H-Town, baby. But H-Town not looking too good right now. Travis Scott is also from Houston as well, so we're both Houstonians. And this concert happened this weekend. It was supposed to be a 2-day concert. Astroworld, which has already been a concert that's happened. Big old show that Travis Porter is a group that used to be out. Check them out for their music. But anyway, Travis Scott, who is about to have his second baby with that Jenner, Kylie Jenner, yeah, her, whose sister is with Kendall Jenner, the self-made billionaire, her. So they're dating. They've been dating for a minute, on and off, whatever. She's pregnant. I think she's had her second child. I'm going to keep going forward with my topic. So, they're hype about, he's a big deal. He's got his album Astroworld, which was called Astroworld, which Astroworld used to be a big theme park in Houston when I grew up. And it was like Six Flags Astroworld, Bugs Bunny, Tweety Bird, all these big, huge roller coasters and things. This was a big thing. Like, it was a big megaplex. And of course, it went away. But he wanted to reinvent it as a concert, this concept, paying homage to H-Town, but also having this big, huge rock concert that kind of turned into a mosh pit. But anyway, he decided he wanted to have this concert during the pandemic. We're still in the pandemic, y'all. I know. We also got a new health commissioner, white woman. Dr. Ella Stanford definitely said she wasn't going to come and clean up the scraps. So it's official. Philadelphia has a new health commissioner, it's a white woman. Dr. Ella Stanford is doing her center on health equity, and she's doing her thing. She got what she wanted. It seemed like everybody happy. But I was telling y'all that wherever she wanted to be and whatever she wanted, she was going to go. And so it seems that that's what happened here. So I'm happy for her. She's on the front cover of the November issue of Philadelphia Magazine. So keep getting those copies. She's on the front cover looking beautiful. And yeah. Small plug. All right, back to the topic. So he is having it in a still deep pandemic. 100,000 tickets were sold earlier this year, sold out within minutes. I mean, this was the concert, okay, of the year. Massive, okay, crowds. I mean, this is pandemonium that was to be expected. Well, that's exactly what happened on late Friday night. There was reports and videos coming out about just how wild this concert was. and just what went down. I mean, again, at least 8 people have died. Dozens and scores of people have been hospitalized. There's a lot going on here. I mean, there was videos initially the stampede when there was like hundreds of people pushing through security. Security couldn't handle them. I mean, they had a cop on a horse trying to stop the crowd. It just wasn't working. People just kept running. People were falling and stumbling, but people just kept stumbling through. The metal detectors broke. It was just total chaos and pandemonium. I mean, you don't even know who was vaccinated. You don't know what was going on. I mean, just people just plowing through. It was a shit show. And that was before the concert really kicked off. So at the concert, ambulances was coming in through the crowds, picking people up. There's all types of stuff about drug uses, laced fentanyl and laced drugs, people passing out, people was getting shot with needles. I mean, there's so much crazy shit being speculated right now that happened actually during the concert. People was being lifted out the air, music stopped for 5 seconds, but they kept going. I mean, it has been chaos, and there's more reports coming as they go. It's a lot going on. Well, the city of Houston and whatnot they've shut the second leg down. So the second night that was scheduled for Saturday night, that's not happening. That's over, which is smart. But it's a total disaster. It's a tragedy. Like, I haven't heard nothing like this. I mean, I wasn't around when Woodstock happened, but this is almost like Woodstock level epicness. Like 8 people at least died. Thousands upon thousands of people were there. This shit was fucking ridiculous. So, now we're at the part where we're playing the blame game, right? Everybody's like, who's at fault here? What's going on? I'm just going to keep it 100. My money's on Travis Scott. It's him. He brought Drake out, by the way, and that also did not help make things better because Drake doesn't make anything better. So the crazy part about the situation with, I think Travis is at fault here. Leadership starts at the head. Celebrities have power and influence. We talk about this all the time. See, I don't like this back and forth with the public when there's these debates about celebrities. At one moment, everyone's like, so-and-so's massively successful. They're a boss. They're this, they're that. And then the moment they get in trouble, then you get these stupid-ass fans, or let me say stands, that then say, oh, well, I feel so bad for them. I'm sorry. I feel bad for these at least 8 families who are going to have to bury a child, a loved one, a family member, a relative, or someone because of this fucking concert. I don't think anybody thought initially going there it was going to be that way. But there were not safety measures in place. That many people and that low security, there was no strong regulation. There was no preparation to make sure this was a safe event for that many people. I mean, you literally called it Astroworld. And it was an Astroworld experience out of control, mind you, with bar level security. Like, I'm looking at the video, I'm looking like, this is not enough security. What the fuck is going on? I mean, no one was taking contraband. What was going on? This does not make any sense. Why did this show? Once those entrances got knocked over things, the show should have been over then. They should even have the concert that night. They should say, look, people out here terrorizing, it's out of control. Nope, keep the show going, keep the show going, keep the show going. He doesn't care, he's a diva, he's somebody who wants a crowd. First of all, like I said, I'm going to say leadership starts at the top. Because I'm sorry, but Beyonce would never. Okay? Beyonce would never. And that's why I mean leadership starts at the top. There's no way that you sold 100,000 tickets. Let's say that them tickets cost at least $50. When we know there was more. But let's just say that man would have made, just off of that alone, would have made around $5 million. That's like, again, super low. I think tickets were definitely more than that. But we're talking about a $5 to $10 million concert off of ticket sales. Doesn't even include merchandise or whatever. That's some serious money. And you mean to tell me with that much money and that much power, there's no control? Like, that's bullshit. Travis Scott is a widely known rapper, hip-hop star, top albums, #1 singles, Grammy nominated. Like, this man has power. He's fucking with one of the Kardashian Jenners. There's no management. There's no, hey, yo, you shouldn't do this. No, he did. He didn't care. That's the answer. He didn't care. First of all, you should know he didn't care because anybody trying to throw a 100,000 guest concert series in Texas during the middle of a pandemic is someone that's telling you that they don't give any fucks and they're willing to risk it all. That's the first stop. But even in the midst of it, when the size got in control, he could have reduced the size. I hear this artist like actually H-E-R, her, the artist, the Grammy Award winning, Academy Award winning artist. I love her, yes. And she has concerts where her concert numbers are very low. She has a smaller niche audience. Everybody has to be seated. She's not doing large mosh pits and standing crowds. She is very big on the safety of it all. And that's why her continues to slay. That's why. I love her. I'm serious. The talent, that's what it means by an artist controlling their concert. Travis Scott, on the other hand, what the fuck are you doing? And this is a thing about these artists. This is about gross capitalism. This man is a multimillionaire. He did not have to have this concert. You think, look, one of my faves, Taylor Swift not doing concerts right now. Beyonce's not touching concerts right now. Hell, she's not even trying to do any live performances for us anymore right now. They understand. They're not playing with their fans. They're not playing with this because this is serious. So it's been interesting because a lot of rappers seem not to care. They are obsessed with their money. They're obsessed with their vanity. They cannot be without these shows. Some of these rappers was like, a lot of them were just saying like this is their bread and butter because, a lot of artists in general, now we're not talking about the heavyweights, right? We're not talking about the, Beyonce's and Taylor Swift's and Gaga's. But when you look at these other artists or whatever that's out there, Billie Eilish and others, they're booking their shows later. Now, Harry Styles is still doing shows, but I think he's trying to regulate to some type of thing. But it's like, this is serious. But I'm just noticing a pattern, a lot of these men doing these big ass shows. I just don't understand. Like, you have people's lives in your hands. And it just seems to me that this is really an ego boost, right? This is a man against nature. I'm a millionaire. I got power. No one's going to run me. I'm going to run them. I'm going to defy, right? That's what this sounds like. This is a man who clearly wanted to be in front of a crowd. And gross capitalism got people thinking that they owe their fans their appearance, which is why they feel like they're in charge. They have influence. You don't think that, you shouldn't, but you don't think that a celebrity with that much power and influence won't fuck you over in that kind of way with a concert, that that you should be able to go to an event where it will be safe and you should walk out in one piece. That didn't happen. So he's liable. And I hope that those families get whatever resolve and justice they can. Nothing can bring back a life. No settlement, no lawsuits, none of that can. But damn it, they deserve. They deserve. Because that was poor leadership. I'm looking at videos and you see people coming and being, crowd surfed, lifted to ambulances, and people, Instagram posted people talking about how they woke up with a bottle of water in their hand because they were out of it. They passed out. It's sad. The stories are coming in and this shit is wild, a disaster. But that's leadership for you. Leadership starts at the top. I keep saying that. Leadership starts at the top. All right. Speaking of leadership started from the top, Howard University. There's a lot going on at Howard University right now, and this is just interesting. So Howard University, as you know, is an HBCU. It's supposed to be grand. Admission's been going up. People been going. Everybody's been in love with Howard. HU. Bisons. Okay, I can't say how many black folks I know in my circle, not my close friend circle, but my network, that are Howard alum and talk about Howard every day. And I used to make the joke, there's a lot of people that went to Howard, but how many graduated from Howard? Let me stop. But there are some people who didn't finish Howard. But they just love it. Like, it's become like the premier HBCU, even though Spelman and Morehouse are arguably better, but they're also gendered schools. So like Morehouse is very much for men. It's a men's college, and Spelman is a all girls college, women's college. So it's very gender in that way. But Howard is the overall just universal school. It's mostly women that go to Howard, but it's a mixed gendered university. So Howard has been in the news a lot. And initially for good, right? This is the place where the AKAs were born. This is the founding location. The AKAs, which we talked about last week in the Insecure drama, which I hear legal action is still happening towards them, I hear. But They are, they started at Howard. So there's, a Howard AKA has like some type of magical superpowers. But, that's one. A lot of great people came out of Howard. Thurgood Marshall, who was the first Black Supreme Court Justice of the United States. Big deal. A lot of great folks. Felicia Rashad, a Howard AKA, also a Howard alum, right? We'll get to her in a minute. But there's rich history, and of course Kamala Harris, first woman vice president, first Black vice president or person of color to be that role. Howard alum, and she's a Howard AKA. So there's some legacy. There's some legacy at Howard. But right now, the sad things about Howard, and Howard is based in D.C., for folks who don't know that. Because I have different listeners and different people, never know, cultural studies. But Howard is dealing with a situation with some college dorm rooms, dealing with rats, mice, roaches. The living conditions are so bad that students, these are reports that students are, sleeping in student centers rather than their own dorm rooms because of how bad the housing situation has been. And they've been having some housing issues for the years about not enough room for students having to be homeless. I mean, it's been an issue for a minute, but you would think with all this hype around them, I mean, P. Diddy went there. Terrence Howard's a big fan of Howard. I mean, you would think with all that historic, that legacy, that there would be something to be done. But it's not. It looks like it's not. And so there's been a hashtag that's been on Twitter and Instagram. Check it out. It's hashtag Blackburn Takeover. And Blackburn is, I believe, one of the housing facilities and places. And they're storming the Prestige, the student buildings, pushing up against some of the stuff that's been going on. The student activism has been strong. It's definitely been a lot of talk that's been happening there. And I've been following it, I've been following it for a while. And so the Blackburn University Center is a social hub of Howard's campus. So this isn't a college, this isn't a house facility, but it's the hub. So it's a social hub, and they're taking it over to address these issues. So the administration has been talking to students about this for a minute. There's been a lot going on. There's been student protests, and the administration has been trying to talk to them, but there still have not been demands met and goals met, apparently. So the big thing was that earlier this week, I guess, on Friday, there were Debbie Allen. Yes, Debbie Allen, the Debbie Allen of fame and of all the great work she's done. Grey's Anatomy. She just won a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Emmys. She's won the prestigious Kennedy Center Honors. And she is a sister of Felicia Rashad. In my opinion, not to be divisive, but she's the better sister of the group. But Felicia Rashad is a dean of arts over there at the Chadwick Boseman School of Arts over there at Howard University. They named the school after Chadwick Boseman, who is another proud Howard alum. So Howard is really popping in one regard. Well, someone's got to send a prayer to Shala and just say, what is going on here? What is happening at this university? Wakanda? What's going on? This is not looking good. But Felicia Rashad was there, and she just had some controversy not too long ago when Bill Cosby was acquitted, and she put out those posts, acting like there was a mass conspiracy, showing up for him immediately. It was wild, and she had to talk about her support of survivors, and she's a dean of a school, y'all. This is embarrassing. It's very embarrassing. But she kind of bounced off of that a little bit, but now she's back in the press because there's video footage of her being, when first of all, Debbie Allen, legend, goes to the campus. I guess she's having a meeting or was planning to have a meeting with the president. But we don't know what the conversation was about. Maybe they were just talking about arts and collaboration because her sisters are part of the art school. So we don't really know all the details. But there are also fun facts as we're on the theme of Houston. They're both Houstonians as well. Bum, 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 bum. See, there's a connection here. But background, Debbie was there to meet the president of Howard University. And while she was there, she's looking fabulous. She meets it to the student group or whatever, and she's having a supportive conversation. talking to them, asking what their concerns are. Well, she just kind of stumbled across it. She didn't even know there was a protest going on. She didn't know hashtag, Black Burn, was happening. Black Burn takeover was happening. So she kind of walked upon this. And so she's listening to the kids, like what's going on, and, engaging them and supporting them and listening to them because she's just so great. So while she's headed over to have that meeting and she's with her sister, Felicia, the press is asking her a question. This is a video. You can look online on Twitter. The video, this is actual raw footage. I actually retweeted on my Twitter account. So you can go to my Twitter account and you can see this video. You can scroll down and see this video I'm talking about. So in the video, they're asking, Debbie Allen, what are you talking about? What are you going to talk to the president about? She's like, I want to hear the issues and talk to the students and this, that, and third about it. And I've listened to what the students had to say. And it's important that we don't ignore them. And then Felicia jumps in. Okay. And she's like, well, what happens when the students' concerns were heard and they're still upset? What about that? I mean, she had this very matter-of-fact tone. I mean, it was the let them eat cake attitude. I mean, she was just like, and Debbie presses down a little bit, like, well, are there concerns being met? Like, she's like, I'm like, Debbie, I don't think you see what's going on. This is supposed to be ending the conversation. And so then somebody in the video, in the background was like saying no. And she said, that's enough now. Like trying to put on this little, very, very fake hospital voice and hospitality voice and just takes her sister. And they're asking Debbie, so you're meeting the president. She says, I wouldn't say anything more if I were you. I wouldn't say anything more if I were you. Like just telling her this, like trying to clamp down and get her to be quiet. I was like, and you can hear her saying it is wild, y'all. It was very, very awkward. And the sister at the end, Debbie says, I'm just here to listen and smile and just turn around and go. But it was so awkward. That encounter, that dynamic. I want to know what they talked about after it was all said and done. But it was wild. And it's interesting because you're just like, ooh, Claire Huxtable. See, that's why I tell people, clearly you should not match TV characters with real life people because they're not the heroes you thought they are. I mean, she's been playing some evil characters lately and she's playing like giving that wicked stepmother energy. Because I remember she was on Empire and she was definitely eating up that wicked stepmother role at the end of Empire, the season finale. And she just definitely had that kind of character. And she really has morphed into that type of vibe, just very upscale, elegant bourgeoisie woman who's also very conniving. And it feels like that's what she's giving now. And it's really weird. And it's like, what's going on, Felicia? Bye, Felicia. This is sad because she's someone I love and have held in high regard. I mean, she's the first Black woman to ever win a Tony Award for Best Lead Actress in a play for Raisin in the Sun. And she played in a Raisin in the Sun with none other than P. Diddy and Sanaa Lathan and Anika Noni Rose, who I keep talking about. Anika Noni Rose had got her, I think, second Tony Award for that, 2-time Tony winner. Yeah. Anyway, no theater a lot. Theater kid in me, love it. But she's a big deal. I mean, Claire Huxtable and Cosby Show alone, but these people are not who they are in real life. These are different people, So it's been interesting to see that kind of dynamic. Kind of sad, actually. But what can you do? So I just hope that I'm in solidarity with those students. I hope they're not in a situation where there has to be continuations of mice and rats and roaches and things like that. No one should have to live like that. It's just not, no one. Especially students that are paying tuition. The fuck? They should get discounts. I think about my brother. I mean, he has a very nice college house situation, apartment and everything. He's good. But I just think about that and it's just terrible. Well, it's also terrible, but I guess some big news. And I do want to take some moment to talk about this because a lot of people have been messaging me on Facebook, and Instagram. Listen, I see everything, y'all. Y'all don't have to spam me with all this. Did you see this? Did you see this? Listen, just because I don't post and respond immediately to every little thing you see does not mean my schedule is my schedule. I work on my clock. I work for me. I've been doing this for a decade, y'all. Let me rock. Everybody always, did you see this? Did you see that? You didn't post, you didn't say. Listen, sometimes I wait for my podcast to come out. Sometimes I just don't have anything to fucking say about it. Sometimes there's enough good things said about something that I agree with those things, and I don't need to just keep adding to the pot. I mean, listen, I have my own flow. Please respect that. I get this. So everybody's been messaging me. A lot of people's messaging me about this situation with Dana Chanel. And I just want to say that, of course, I was going to talk about that because I had been talking about Philly scams for a long, long time. Y'all know I'm always talking about scammers because in our community, there are scams and I want to protect people. So here's what happened here, because this is important. Dana Chanel is an Instagram influencer, and she is now being indicted by Attorney General Josh Shapiro. Yes, the same one who's about to run for governor. He wants news. So this week, Josh Shapiro announced that he has filed a suit against her. So Dana Chanel, she is a Philadelphia-based, business owner. She operates social media. She's a social media personality, okay? And this suit alleges that Chanel, who her real name is Casey Oliveira. So Dana Chanel is not even her real name. But, basically, along with other co-owners, that she misled consumers and failed to deliver goods and services as promised. Now, she uses her huge platform. This woman has hundreds and thousands of followers on social media to promote her products. And she does things like credit repair services, that is by her company, Credit Exterminators, Inc. And then she later rebranded it as Earn Company, Inc. LLC. Earn Company LLC. And then she had a mobile app development services through this Alakazam Apps LLC. And then she co-owns and operates Credit Exterminators Earn Company with her sister, who her name is Cassandra April Oliveira. And she runs this Alakazam apps with her father. And his name is Nikia Rattare. So it's a lot. It's a lot going on. But the crazy part is that Josh Shapiro gave out a statement to the press, and this is what he said, quote, because I want to make sure I'm right about this. Quote, Dana Chanel built a following online by presenting herself as a Black woman-owned small business success story. She advertised the products of her small companies as a way for other Black small business owners to achieve what she did. Then she ripped off the same community she claimed to care about. Josh Shapiro ain't playing no games, okay? A.G. Shapiro is not playing any games. Now, this lawsuit, because he is basically indicting her and suing her, claims that one consumer who runs a small nonprofit paid Alakazam Apps $2,000, believing that Dana Chanel would work directly with them to bring a custom app to life. Well, that person never received an app from Alakazam and contacted the company more than 10 times via phone, but never received a response or a refund, y'all. The lawsuit even claims that one consumer signed up with Credit Exterminators, believing that as part of the services they paid for, Credit Exterminators would resolve delinquent credit accounts on that person's behalf. Months after retaining them, the consumer received a garnishment of wages letter from a creditor she believed that credit examiners had resolved. She received no refund or other relief and in total paid the company more than $2,000. Shapiro is not playing. He added in his statement to the press that it's hard enough these days for workers in Philadelphia. We can't have bad actors breaking the law and making it even harder for folks to resolve their bad credit or keep their small businesses afloat. They're asking more people to file a complaint with the Attorney General or contact the Bureau of Consumer Protection. Now, I'm going to give you this information. The number for Bureau of Consumer Protection is 1-800-441-2555 or scams@attorneygeneral.com. Or you could go to the Attorney General and submit a complaint, but it's scams@attorneygeneral.gov. This lawsuit was filed in the Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas. Okay? So this is big. Dana Chanel is going down. Now, let me tell you what I'm connected to this with. People are out here giving me my props. I appreciate y'all giving me my props. Because let me just say this, because I got to keep it 100. There has been a lot of people who called me a hater, said that, I was shitting on Black people, as a black person, that I was an Uncle Tom, all of these nasty names, because I had been talking about Dana Chanel and other folks that I believe were in the community scamming people and misleading people. Dana Chanel might have been the first scammer in this situation to be exposed, but I don't believe she'll be the last. There's been a lot of conversation about other people that I've talked about on my podcast, off my podcast, and on my social media. A year ago during Black Friday, that was November of 2020, before I even started this podcast. I had a mini doc that talked about a lot of folks in Philadelphia that were scamming people. And, of course, her name came up into the mix. And there were people that were defending her and saying, oh, it's not true. Oh, it's confusion. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And people, are, saying what they're saying. But I'm like, I'm telling y'all to stay woke. And so I do feel validated. I do feel this sense of validation that people are keeping it real. But we're going to see, we're going to see, because it ain't looking too good. It ain't looking too good for the other side. Stop ripping people off. Period. Stop ripping people off. Period. So, yeah, I just, that just, there's just so much going on in the world. And I always get mad that sometimes truth tellers and storytellers and journalists and people that do that work to expose this stuff have to wait for, an AG or an indictment or the feds or something before people believe. I mean, that's just the story of everything, right? Something has to go to the highest level before people believe that there's something wrong. I hate that, but I get it. But I just think that so many more people would have probably been protected, But now, look, it's not too late, Let the Attorney General know. Let Shapiro know. You're not a snitch because you're a victim. Victims can't be snitches. So if you was violated, let people know. Say something. We got to take these types of people off the streets. I'm a big proponent of that. We have to. Because it's too much of that. And these credit repair stuff, all this credit repair shit, everybody, y'all have to start looking at these people sideways. Student loan folks, people paying people to do their student loan stuff. I'm sorry. There are services on student, aid gov and on these other websites, .gov, and that are free resources. You do not have to be paying people for stuff that is free. So to see a lot of these people, read this stuff up and then turn around and pay people for this type of consulting, that's just tacky. That's just talentless. It's garbage. And I've called some people out about it. Certain student loan doctors and people doing this. It's like, come on. You don't even have a doctorate. Talking about a student loan doctor, or Nehemiah Davis giving people self-help. And you're what, 30, early 30s? How you give people self-help and trying to tell them it's a self-help book when most of the damn book is journal pages? Fuck out of here. Like, there's a lot of people out here just selling people on bullshit. Every year there's a new hustle, a new scam to be had. Teaching people about, all types of stuff and selling all these books. What financial literacy do you have? Okay. Oh, so I'm supposed to believe that you're a financial whiz person because you got these cars. Oh, so you're on vacation. So, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to say this. Black people, what the fuck are we doing? Like, these are the people that y'all uplift and believe. Some of y'all, not all of us, because clearly I don't, right? But you have to be a certain person that's letting a person with no certifications, no formal education, tell you something about making financial decisions. And then the comparing Jay-Z. If you all will stop it, fucking stop it. All this, Jay-Z didn't go to school. Listen, you're not fucking Jay-Z. And let's keep it 100 about Jay-Z. Let's talk about Jay-Z, shall we? Let's talk about a lot of these people. They did not start their careers in finance. They started their careers selling dope. Some of them, let's be real, doing crime, selling drugs. It is what it is. And honestly, they were drug dealers and criminals with talent. So Jay-Z could rap. So Jay-Z rapped. And then once Jay-Z built some financial capital off of his rapping and his concerts, then Jay-Z realized I can merchandise and I can do some other things because now I have money and people are going to let me in the door because I'm rich. Okay? So Jay-Z did that. Jay-Z turned his empire, created an empire based on talent. The problem with a lot of you motherfuckers is you don't have talent. So you don't have something that you can turn into a profit that let me back that up legitimately, that you can turn into a product that can then launch you into a situation where you could be that person. Trust me, I fucking know. I started off freelance writing, just off the rip. Built some money, got some money, and then began to expand and invest in other projects that's now opened me up to having a company that I have. That's how it works if you don't come from money off the rip. Now, there are kids I went to Penn with that came from money. So they got a seed, an angel investor when they started. I didn't have that shit when I started my business. I had to work first, raise money, start my business, and then make profit. That's what most people have to do if they don't come from money. So when I hear people reference Jay-Z or Steve Jobs, all these other people, you got to understand, they first have to have a talent first. A lot of them had to have the talent, and the talent rolled over into other things. No one just jumped into having money and doing that if they didn't come from money already. Duh. So my question to some of these people is like, I'm going to come out here and be this financial expert, this business person with nobody's certification, nobody's education, none of that shit. Where are your certifications? Like, fuck it. You don't have to have a college degree to have certain certifications. You can do real estate and get your real estate certificate and things like that without having to go to college. I'm not saying it's all about having a college degree, but you need to have some certifications. Like my husband has a bartending business. That man has a safe serve license. He has other certifications in whiskey tasting and travel. He knows what the fuck he's talking about. There's a lot of people where I'm looking on social media and they're showing you cars and showing you Gucci bags and shit and trips and shit. You don't know how they got them trips. Now I didn't expose some of them. Nehemiah Davis out here on buddy passes and shit, going off to go travel to Dubai and things. He's not getting first class flights off of the riff of his money alone. If he did, he wouldn't look the way, he wouldn't dress the way he do. Listen, rich people, listen. I know some rich people can't dress, but that man don't look like the money that he claimed he has. I'm just saying. I done seen broke people dress better than him. I mean, facade. But you're talking to a man who went to college with billionaires. And I'm not saying that to gloat, because at the end of the day, billionaires and excessive wealth disproportion is gross, but I'm saying I've seen it with my real eyes. I know what it looks like. And I think that's why I'm good at my job, because I'm somebody who grew up in working class. I grew up, I've been in the hood, but I've also been, in Hollywood in Four Seasons. I've also been on lavish expenses. I've also been with rich people. So my education, when I talk about scams and when I talk about people out here facading, is from lived experience of seeing the poorest of the poorest, the richest of the richest, and everybody in between. And so I know it when I see it. And that man is lying. These people are fake. These people are out here facading. I looked up stuff. Y'all don't even understand. I see people out here going to dealerships in Atlanta, like photo shoots, taking pictures on first class planes that they're not actually riding, to give you all the impression that they are something they're not. I mean, there's a whole lifestyle. There's a place that you could go to and you pay them, I think, $600 or whatever, and you go and they'll let you do multiple photo shoots at different places. So there's cars on the turf, like a tarmac. They'll have the cars out. They'll have yachts, and people do whole photo shoots. And normally that's for models, but now people who aren't even models are doing it. Now they're doing it for business and credibility. It's like Donald Trump when he takes front cover, when he used to put himself as person of the year before he became person of the year, where he made himself person of the year when he wasn't on fake Time magazine covers. That's the kind of shit these people do. And people are eating that shit up, liking that shit, and calling these motherfuckers kings and shit. These Jay Morrisons out here. This is bullshit. And it makes me upset. It makes me upset because I have known people in my community in Philadelphia who have been fucked over by some of these people. Have given these people hundreds of around thousands of dollars for stuff that they could have just Googled or got online if someone helped them. And there's people that make the argument, well, they're providing a service. Y'all are exploiting people. It's exploitation. It's disgusting. So Dana Chanel and her husband, because they need to talk about her husband, how he was an enabler. Okay? Let's talk about her husband who was an enabler. All of them deserve what's coming to them in the courts, and they will not be the last. I will promise you that. I tell people, laugh now, cry later. All right. On to something else. So, Wicked, okay, by, again, theater kid, my thespian. Wicked is going to be a film. So I'm excited about that part. Because I told y'all I love Wicked. We talked about Hamilton and all that. Wicked, 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 Wicked. Okay? It's all about Wicked. I love Wicked. I hope they don't make Hamilton a movie. I feel like they're going to just keep stretching Hamilton out, man. I feel like Hamilton will be a whole movie, even though we just got one. But I think they're going to like actually make it a motion picture versus like the recording. I mean, I'm just like, oh, I'm so Hamilton out. But it was such a success that they're most likely going to make a fucking movie. But Wicked is after like 20 years. I mean, we're like, Wicked's about to be 20 years old very soon. They're making a film. I waited this long for this moment, y'all. I think I was like 13, 12 years old when Wicked came out. I've waited long enough, and now I'm going to be in my 30s, get to enjoy Wicked as a film. My childhood is just overload right now. I'm so excited. Only thing is that this cast, y'all. Okay, so Glinda the Good Witch, is being played originally by Kristen Chenoweth, who's a Tony Award winning actress, is being played by Ariana Grande. I'm all right with that, I suppose. She can sing, and her and Kristen Chenoweth have a really good relationship, and she's done some stuff like for Wicked Live and things like that, live performances and stuff. So there's a connection there. She's a Broadway girl. She did Broadway when she was very young. So I see it. I see it. I see it. I just hope they don't give her blonde hair. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I mean, she's a white woman. She's not Latinx. It's not really Grande. It's Grandi. A Grandi, actually. She's Italian. From Florida. But, it's gonna grow on me. I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. I don't know about Oscar worthy, but it might be given more Golden Globe nominated performance. But we don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But Cynthia Erivo is going to be Alphaba. And that's when I said, you know what? See, I understand what they were trying to do. But I am just so tired of Cynthia Erivo. I listen, I can't shake off the fact that she said some of the things she said about Black Americans. And then she turned around, she played Harriet Tubman. Those tweets, y'all, they make me cringe. I don't see it for her. I really don't. And I know people, I mean, even the Aretha Franklin, mini film she did, Genius, I was not here for it. I mean, clearly Jennifer Hudson did a better performance. I don't know. I don't get a good read. And then she's also there's a rumor, I don't know, allegedly, but it's been interesting that her and Lena Waithe, who did Queen and Slim, have like a relationship or something going on, which Lena Waithe is just god awful too. I mean, it just doesn't look good. It's just this, I don't know, that just get bad energy around her. So her playing Alphaba was like the biggest bummer. I'm divided right now. I don't know. Maybe I'll get it right. Maybe they'll get it together in time and it'll take some. But also the director, I think, is John Chu, who just directed Into the Heights, which had their colorism issues. So I'm not really excited about him either, being a director. I just don't know what energy this is going into. Is this going to be something that's trying to really go for the Oscars like Les Miserables did, Les Mis did, a couple years ago, Les Mis, or are they trying to go in that route, like Phantom of the Opera, Golden Globe nominate? Like, are they trying to go in this higher caliber, like, or are they going like the Cats caliber or whatever? Like, I feel like West Side Story, directed by Steven Spielberg, that's coming out this Christmas. I feel like they're trying to go for the Oscars. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it looks like it's trying to be taken more seriously. But like, nothing tops Chicago. I'm sorry. Chicago is like one of the best Broadway to films ever, adaptations ever. I mean, Chicago, Dreamgirls, Sound of Music, the original West Side Story, Funny Girl. These are good film adaptations, right? My Fair Lady too, right? I mean, there's some good ones. Good for Anne Hathaway. She wasn't even that good vocally. I don't know. I'm not crazy about that. I mean, I just feel like that could be overkill with Broadway. Like a lot of people want to. Like Hairspray was okay. Like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. You know, into the woods. Now into the woods. I personally like that. A lot of people couldn't get with it. I said y'all don't understand. Like that's Broadway right there. I did love the Into the Woods adaptation. I think people felt different ways. I loved it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was good. I thought Meryl Streep was killer. Bernadette Peters has a different energy to she's the original witch in Into the Woods. See, I'm going Broadway on y'all right now, but I love some good Broadway. It's not often, but when it is, it is. I want to see Carolina Change going for a film because Miss Pinkins, okay, Tanya Pinkins, people argue should have won that Tony that year, but Adina Menzel as Alphaba was stellar. And I don't know what Cynthia Erivo is going to bring to it. And I know I think I'm under the impression that I could sense that she might be, she's a Tony winner. She played in the revival of The Color Purple. She's a Grammy winner. She's an Emmy winner. I think she's missing an Oscar. Oscar. I think she has a daytime Emmy, but I think she's missing an Oscar. She has a Grammy through the Color Purple soundtrack. She's a daytime Emmy for that live performance they did. And then she also has a Tony for Best Lead Actress. And let me just say this. LaChance won that too. She was the first one to win playing us in The Color Purple, the first adaptation. So I saw The Color Purple on Broadway. I remember when not on Broadway, I'm sorry, in Houston when they had the Broadway tour. I was really young, but I remember that show. And it definitely is different from the movie. But Celie was incredible. Celie was incredible. And Shug Avery, who played Shug Avery, was incredible. But no, Celie was incredible. And it's interesting that both LaChance won when it first came out, the original Broadway edition, and then the revival, and then Cynthia Erivo won as well. So that's like a Tony Award-winning role. It kind of reminds me of Ethel, the character of Mama Rose and Gypsy, Ethel Mormon, Patti LuPone. A lot of actresses who've played that character in Gypsy have either been nominated for a Tony or has won one because it's just a really signature Broadway role. I think it's Mama June Rose or whatever, and Gypsy, which is one of my other favorite musicals. I love Gypsy. Gypsy was good. Okay, they should make another film adaptation of Gypsy, but I don't think people are ready for it. I'm just going off about Broadway now. Look at me. So gay. But, like I said, I don't know how I feel about Wicked. Wicked is... we're going to see. We're just going to see about Wicked. We're going to see. So, my TV shows I've been watching. And some music. I'm excited. Y'all know next week, I'm excited. Taylor Swift's Red album is coming out. Taylor's version. I've been waiting for this because I have not listened to the original version because I'm one of the people that's trying to not listen to any of that stuff Scooter Braun selling shit. I want to listen to royalty, the music that's going to our royalties. I'm really excited about this. So that's coming out soon. The week after that, y'all know Adele's album coming out. 30's coming out. Right on time, right? Because I'm 30, so I'm feeling it. So I'm excited to see what that album is going to look like. Y'all are hype about this Summer Walker album. I'm not crazy about it. I don't really listen to her. She's anti-vax. She says anti-HIV stuff. And so for the folks I know that are living with HIV, in my community, in my social circle, I don't support that. As somebody who is seronegative, who does not have HIV, people in my space deserve humanity. People that I know deserve humanity. And so when I see people make those type of remarks, I don't like it. I think it's ignorant. And she has a history of that kind of stuff. So I'm not a fan of her on that tip, but I'm also not crazy about her in general. Like, I don't know. I get the album. I get what it's doing for people, but some people are like really treating like it's the holy grail. I mean, I guess she's an acquired taste. Maybe she's some people's problematic fave. Everybody deserves a problematic fave. I'm not going to tell you who my problematic fave is. It varies at time to time. I would say mine is Future. He's toxic, but he's lovable. But some people have their problematic faves. I just, if Chris Brown's your problematic fave, don't tell anybody that, please. Don't. Your problematic fave got to be somewhat redeemable. But Summer Walker is just, every time. Her and Ari Lennox. I'm like, I want to like them. They have, I mean, Ari Lennox has talent, but like, good God, Summer Walker, I'm just like, it's just, what's going on? I don't know. But the album came out, Over It Again, which is the follow-up to the first album, Over It. So maybe the third album is going to be called Over It Some More. But, she's talking about this low London guy dissing her ex who had like 4 baby mamas. And I'm just like, girl, so you're telling us you already knew he was trash, you still stood by his side, and now you expose him in the song? Interesting. Then she done resurrected Omarion to do a dirty song together. They're doing like some dirty little freaky song on the album. I don't know. I just have mixed thoughts about it. I'm not crazy about her. TV wise, Succession. I'm a part of Succession train. I am Team Kendall, but I will tell you that Kendall needs to stop. I'm just gonna say that about Kendall. I don't want to talk too much about it, but Kendall, he's he doesn't. He's not about that life. Every time Kendall acts like he's about to be that dude, and y'all know, so if you watch this episode, you know what I'm talking about. In season 3, he was acting like he's about that life, and then that white boy privilege just took him over. So yeah, but I'm still Team Kendall. I'll say that. Logan, I'm not trying to see Logan win. Logan represents a generation of white men who was fucking up our economy and our life. And even though, Kendall is also a little bratty entitled, he's looking like he's someone trying to do something different, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm not crazy about Logan. And Siobhan, she gets on my nerves. She gives me insecure and, not ready, but want to be ready. It's like, come on. Well, I don't know. I don't like her characters being written. I mean, I don't like it. I see her ambition, but I don't know. We'll see what happens this season. The verdict is still on how I feel about Siobhan. And then the other brother Roman, Roman's funny. He is funny. He is the comical relief of the show. The black humor that he has, like the black, like dark comedy that he has is just very timely, well done. He's adorable. Macaulay Culkin's brother, Kieran Culkin, is playing him. And now Macaulay Culkin apparently is a fashion model. Like he's working the runway for Gucci and stuff now. Like it's just great, Underrated brother duo in Hollywood. We underrated. Like Macaulay gave us Home Alone. You don't ever need to have Macaulay Culkin's name in your mouth again. Okay? So love the show. And of course, Queen Sugar's doing good. We're getting close to the final 2 episodes. This episode kind of broke me a little bit because, Nicholas Ash, who is gay in real life, who's queer in real life, actually, he is playing a character who he has a real good connection with another guy on the show. Let's just say that. And I was thinking, verdict is still open. I'm still trying to figure it out. But there's a sense to me that, or at least I was hoping that the way they were connecting as 2 guys that he's in college with, that there's a love there. Because the way they were connecting and being together, I was like, oh my God, they're going to be together. And then it kind of seems like that is looking like it's not happening. So his name is Micah on the show. He's Micah. That's his name. So on the show, his name is Micah, Nicholas Ash's character. And his character has been dating girls in the past. I mean, this season, he's sleeping with the teacher, which is interesting. But then also he had a girlfriend like the entire seasons, the previous seasons, and then they kind of broke up. So in my mind, I was like, okay, so what's going to happen this season? Like this boy and him are having this thing. But it's not sexual or anything like that. It's very platonic, but it's just like they have a closer connection. And I don't know if they're trying to challenge us to see like, black men can be friends without that kind of intimacy. But I'm like, they've already showed that on the show with, Ralph Angel and Hollywood and the other characters. So I'm like, are they going to really finally explore this same gender male loving relationship? Because that's very rare. I mean, they're both light-skinned men, but we'll take it. I mean, Nova has already had it. Nova Bordelon has explored bisexuality on the show. Which was very beautiful and fun, but she always leans towards men at the end. So it was always like it was treated like it was a dabble in this, but at the end of the day, she leaves off with a man. I'm not saying that that's wrong or right, but I just noticed that a lot of the themes on shows with women characters that oftentimes lesbianism or just their queerness is often like one episode of it, and then it just completely just gets switched off after that. Now, the one show that I say really had an interesting play with the character, and I really loved how they did that, was, and I know he's trash now, okay, so let me just be clear. He's trash. Kevin Spacey is trash. But the way that Frank Underwood's character was explored in House of Cards around his bisexuality and things, I thought that was just well done. And also, I will say, Viola Davis in How to Get Away with Murder, I thought her character, Annalise Keating, definitely was added. I mean, it was beautiful how she pushed through and on and really being out. I don't think people talk enough about Annalise Keating's queerness and how it evolved. Because, I mean, she really was fleshed out on this. And I thought that was good. I mean, even the dynamic between her and the other woman, Laura, and then she also was lesbian too. We found out, I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. They did a good job. I thought that was well explored. And also, just the other gay characters on the show that was explored too. There was all these nuances and dynamics. I think How to Get Away with Murder, I think, is one of the best shows that dealt with all of that. HIV and, HIV, same gender relationships, dating, nuance. I mean, everybody had an experience, and it wasn't cliche or corny either. I really, really, I like that. I really like that. Good TV. Speaking of other good TV, that isn't queer really at all. Impeachment season finale is coming up next week. I'm kind of sad that it's ending, but it's been good. 10 weeks, man, consistent, right? It's coming to the end. I know it's a shocking conclusion, but impeachment. Now we're hitting the impeachment part of the show. So this is the finale, the last episode. It's been good. We're seeing, Linda Tripp is having a downfall. Linda Tripp is having an ultimate downfall. And in this part, she's realizing that her delusions of grandeur of thinking she was going to do something phenomenal and rise at the ashes, it's not really happening. And you kind of feel bad for her, but then you're reminded all the dumb shit she did. So it's interesting. Monica's talking to jurors now, being asked questions about the sexual context of her relationship with Bill. I mean, it's a lot going on in this show, but it's about to come to its final episode, and it's been a run. Really good run. So we'll see. So that's everything. I think last but not least, shameless plug, the PABJ's gala is next Saturday, which is phenomenal. Tickets are sold to the public. Dr. Ayla Stanford is receiving our Community Service Award. Patty Jackson, Lifetime Achievement, and some other great award winners are going to be honored. As you all know, I'm the president of the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists. So this gala is big. Tickets are on sale now. If you want to attend the event and see me in a tux and see my friends and have a good time, tickets are going to be sold. They're online at thepabj.org. And that's where you can go to get tickets. And you must be fully vaccinated in order to attend. This is a fully vaccinated event. Everybody's on list, all those things. And that's going to be happening. So, check it out if you're interested in those details and everything. But I must get myself ready. I have a birthday party to get ready for and dinner at Chima. So I'm trying to eat light because I know I'm going to pig out and just go nuts. And for people who've been following all of my food exploration, on Instagram, I have a hashtag. It's called @ErnestEat. Hashtag ErnestEat. Sorry. Hashtag ErnestEat. So it's hashtag ErnestEat. Hashtag ErnestEat. That's it. And you'll see all of the food, recent photos, whatever. Because people always ask me, like, where you eating? Where you going? What you recommend? Yada, yada, yada. If I post a picture of the food, that means I like the food. I don't post anything I don't like to eat. I go to a lot of places, and some stuff is good, and some stuff is just bad. And the stuff that is just bad, I don't post. So just know that I'm not one of these people that's just like anything that I eat, I got to take a picture of just because. No. Everything that I love to eat that I think is phenomenal, I post. And normally the pictures you see, it looks just as good as you imagine. So that's my thing. I love to eat and I love to do my thing. So until then, be well and always be best. Earnestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.